Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and it is time to attach the rest of the fins in our construction of the Estes SpaceShipOne here. So the rest of the fin construction is a little bit jigsawed. I have this upside down at the moment because I was letting the fillets dry since last time. The construction is going to look like this. So the main, I don't even know what to call this, it's almost like a tail, is going to go on like so. And then the other two elements of the fin are going to go, they're going to fit in these slots like so. And I'm not just doing this for illustrative purposes. It is a very good idea to test fit all this stuff. If any of the slots, they all have burrs inside of them. If any of those burrs are too big, then this is definitely something you want to take care of, like before you get to the point of putting the whole thing together. With glue on it and everything, only to find out that nothing fits. So this is definitely something you want to do ahead of time. The other thing that is really essential here is I'm just going to put this down for a moment. Or that could happen. That's fine too. So the long tail segment here, it's not symmetrical. Right? The slots are cut into it slightly off the midline. It is important to make sure that you know which part is which, and the instructions are very clear. They say pay close attention to the top and the bottom. The slots are closer to the bottom edge of the wing. So this is the bottom, this is the top. This is the top of the rocket, right? Because the fins are slightly elevated. So yeah, make sure you're putting them on in the appropriate direction. Now, the instructions want me to put each of these on separately and then attach all the extra little pieces. I've been thinking about that, and I mean, we can do that. To me, it would make more sense to build the fin entirely and then slap the whole thing together. I think that's the way I'm actually going to go. The danger of doing that is you got to make sure that whatever you're building here is actually going to fit, right? So that's probably the reason that let's just get rid of that, the reason that they don't have you do it that way. So I'm going to put these together just by hand first. So this is going to be the right side fin, and I'm even going to put a little R on there. That's great. The left side, though, is going to be a mirror image of that. So if I build two identical copies of this, it's not going to work, which is, again, probably why they are having you assemble everything after the fact. I'm going to put this on just for illustrative purposes again, and also to test fit. But this is going to go together like this. Oops. Let's try that again. I'm going to take this off now. There we go. Like so. So this is going to be my left fin constructed correctly. Alright. This can go out of the way. I've been storing it upside down because it fits in this cradle upside down, so that can go over there. This is hopefully will be a fairly short video. I'm going to glue all this stuff together and then let it rest, let the glue set up completely before I glue the actual fins together. So that shouldn't be all that complicated. All you really need to do is put a little bit of glue on each of these four pieces, and because it's all jigsawed together, we shouldn't have to worry too much either about getting everything at nice right angles. It should fit together at right angles whether we like it or not. So let's get down to it. I would consider, by the way, using a bit of wax paper for this, but this mat's pretty good about not gluing stuff to it. So if you don't have a nice cutting mat, probably want to invest in some wax paper for this. Otherwise, it should be pretty good to go. Alright, so I'm just putting a little bit of glue on. I'm not going to do the fin construction technique where I put two layers on. It's probably not really that essential. But I'm going to spread this out. I'm going to take a little bit of the extra, kind of spread it out along the root here, because it's like the bottom of it, we don't really need much glue there because it's not connecting to anything there. The only place we truly need the glue is on the sides. There we go. And the parts that don't stick out. So I'm just going to pop that in, push it down. I'm going to hold it for not very long. It doesn't require much time. It's probably good. I am going to run my fingernail through the seam here. Eventually, I will probably do a little bit of fillet work, but I'm not going to do that until the very end, after everything is attached. Same deal here. I'm going to run glue across the whole thing again, and then I'm just going to spread the glue that was on the top here on the sides. Because I don't actually need or want glue right there, but it's a good place to put it, at least for now. And the other thing too is I'm going to have, these aren't going to fit smoothly, right? It's going to be pretty good, but ultimately, I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to patch in, because the underside of it, you can see right here, this is not smooth. It's going to take some work to make that smooth, and having a little bit of glue there isn't going to hurt anything. In fact, it might make it a little bit easier to work with. Alright, so I'm going to hold this. This one, it has a lot more fin to it, so I am going to have to check that this is at a right angle. This one, it would be really hard for this to be at anything but a right angle. This, I'm going to have to check. So I'm going to hold it for a good 20 seconds or so. And then I'm going to take a peek, just look down. Really, I hope more than anything else that they're in line with each other, and I can use the little canard style fin here as a kind of guide to make sure the back one is how it ought to be. That looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm just going to let that, I'm going to run my finger through here. There are a couple little spots where there's some extraneous glue. This side seems to be a little bit worse. There we go. That, I think, misaligned things a little bit when I did that. So let's go back and check. Should be fine. Repeat the process. This is going to be one of my shorter videos, I think, because this needs to fully set before I go off and try to assemble the fin completely. Really, I don't, I want to keep the amount of stuff that could possibly fall off to a minimum here, so I don't need a lot going on when I finally assemble things. Okay, so in it goes. That actually felt really snug, nicely snug when it went in, but I am going to just push it down to make sure. Alright, and last but not least, this fin here. Yeah, and when all this is said and done, I'm going to have to go back and every spot that I did construction like this, so where the fins are going through each other, it's going to be not just, the balsa itself is usually not smooth, as smooth as it could be. You can see the grain and stuff like that. Well, this is going to be significantly worse because there are actual sizable, obvious gaps where the construction, the design of this is jigsawed together, and we don't want that. Especially because these are going to be on the outside face of the rocket, so that's going to look pretty ugly if they are just sitting out there with big old chunks missing, so we don't like that. Wood fill for that. I might actually, so this is the typical wood fill that I use for getting rid of the grain. I usually water it down a little bit. I might actually treat that like the spackle that it is and spackle those holes. wood, just a typical approach that you would use to spackle like a nail hole in your house. So I'll have to see if I can find the smallest scraper that I have. Let's clean the glue out here. That really wasn't that bad. Checking alignment. Yeah, that's not as straight as the other one. That looks a lot better. You can also see that when I sanded the top of this, right, to get rid of the burr, it's not as straight as it could be, which is an interesting discovery to make at this point. Shouldn't really matter. Alright, so those I'm just going to let sit for a while. Eventually, they're going to get attached like this, and they just need to dry. But nothing's going to happen between now and when they dry. There's nothing else I can really do at the moment. I did in the last, between now and the last video, I did put fairly heavy fillets. It took 2 fillets on this to get it sufficiently thick. This one, the launch lug, is going to go on the underside of the wing there, so that'll be kind of interesting. So, time for drying. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.